My name is Natalie Carter. I'm 30 years old, and I should have realized long ago that in my family, gatherings were never really about celebrating anyone. They were performances, little stages where everyone played their role, and mine had been written before I even arrived. That year's Mother's Day dinner looked ordinary from the outside. My parents' backyard was strung with soft lights, the smell of grilled food drifting across the lawn, relatives laughing around folding tables. I arrived with a store-bought apple pie and the familiar determination to stay polite, helpful, invisible enough to avoid becoming the evening's topic. But halfway through dinner, my older sister Laura lifted her glass and cleared her throat dramatically. "I have some exciting news," she said, smiling as if she were unveiling a trophy. Everyone leaned in. "Baby number 3 is on the way." The reaction was immediate. My mother clapped her hands together, eyes shining with tears. My father nodded proudly. A few relatives cheered. Then my father turned toward me with the casual certainty of a man assigning someone a chore. "Well," he said, "Natalie will help with the kids." At first, I thought he was joking, but no one laughed. My mother's satisfied smile confirmed it. Laura leaned back in her chair, one eyebrow raised. "You're not exactly busy with anything important," she added lightly. "At least now you'll finally have a purpose." The words landed softly, but they cracked something inside me. For years, I had been the extra pair of hands, the reliable daughter, the flexible one, the quiet helper. I'd watched everyone make decisions about my time like it belonged to them. And suddenly, I understood something. They weren't asking, they were assigning. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just smiled politely, pushed my chair back, and stood up. Forks paused against plates as the scraping chair cut through the noise. "I'm not doing that," I said calmly. Then I walked out. No shouting, no drama, just the sound of my car door closing behind me. The drive home felt unreal. My hands shook slightly on the steering wheel as the streetlights blurred past. I kept replaying the moment in my head. My father's confident tone, my sister's casual cruelty. It wasn't just what they said. It was how certain they were that I'd accept it. By the time I reached my apartment, the quiet hit me like a wave. No relatives, no expectations, just the hum of the refrigerator and my own breathing. I set the pie on the kitchen counter without opening the box. 10 minutes later, my phone started buzzing. Mom, Dad, Laura. The texts came one after another. "Don't be dramatic. You embarrassed the family. Family helps family." And my favorite, "Come back and talk like an adult." That one almost made me laugh, because leaving calmly had been the most adult thing anyone had done all night. I ignored every message until the screen finally went dark. Then I called the one person who had always treated me like a real person, my friend Amanda. She picked up on the second ring. "You left, didn't you?" she said immediately. I sank onto the floor beside my couch and laughed weakly. I made it to the car before anyone remembered I existed. I told her everything: the announcement, the applause, my father volunteering me like unpaid staff, Laura's comment about purpose. Amanda listened quietly. Then she said something that stayed with me. "Natalie, they keep doing this because it works, not because it's right." She was right. This wasn't about one dinner. It was about a lifetime. When Laura wanted to go out in high school, I stayed home to help. When my mother said she was tired, I canceled plans. Holidays meant I cooked, cleaned, entertained, soothed crying children. It was never called work. It was just called being a good daughter. And because I never rebelled loudly, they mistook my kindness for ownership. Amanda asked a question no one in my family had ever asked me. "What do you want?" I hesitated before answering. I'm opening my own design studio, I said quietly. She went silent for a moment. You never told them? I tried, I said, but they always say I'm still figuring things out. In reality, I'd spent 2 years freelancing, saving money, building a client list, working late nights while they told relatives I didn't have a real job. Amanda sighed. So they think you're free because they've never respected what you're building. The next morning proved just how far that disrespect could go. I was making coffee when my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost ignored it. Something made me answer. Good morning, ma'am, a calm voice said. This is Officer Daniels with the local police department. Am I speaking with Natalie Carter? My stomach dropped. Yes, I said slowly. He explained they had received a welfare concern about me. My mother had called late the previous night, saying I had left a family gathering emotionally distressed and wasn't answering my phone. She had suggested I might be unstable. The word echoed in my mind. Unstable. Not upset, not independent. Unstable. I gripped the kitchen counter as Officer Daniels asked a few careful questions. Was I safe? Was anyone threatening me? I'm fine, I said clearly. I left dinner after a disagreement and didn't answer my phone because I wanted peace. There was a pause. Then his voice softened slightly. Understood, ma'am. After the call ended, I stared at my reflection in the microwave door. I looked exhausted, but I did not look unstable. My phone buzzed again. A text from my mother. Are you okay? You scared me. No mention of the police call. No mention of the story she'd told. That was when everything finally clicked. My family didn't just expect my help. They believed they were entitled to manage my life. If guilt didn't work, they used pressure. If pressure failed, they used humiliation. And if that didn't work, they used authority. I called Amanda again. When I told her about the police call, she didn't hesitate. That's not concern, she said. That's control. Then she told me something I hadn't known. Apparently, my sister had been telling relatives for months that I worked from home because I couldn't handle a real job, that I had no serious commitments, and once the new baby arrived, I'd finally be useful. Not a rumor, a narrative. They had been preparing this story long before Mother's Day dinner. I opened the folder on my laptop filled with contracts, design drafts, and launch plans for my studio. 2 years of work. Evidence of a life they had chosen not to see. Amanda said something that changed everything. Stop arguing with their fantasy version of you, she told me. Start dealing with what they actually did. By noon, I had made a decision. I wasn't going back to apologize. I was going back to end the role they had written for me. The drive to my parents' house took 38 minutes. Every mile carried a memory. Leaving school events early to babysit. Canceling opportunities because family came first. Being told my ambitions were unrealistic. But when I pulled onto their street, something surprising happened. I felt calm. Relatives' cars still lined the curb. Laughter drifted from the backyard. They were continuing the celebration like nothing had happened, like the police hadn't been called, like my refusal was just a minor inconvenience. I sat in the car for a moment and looked at the folder on the passenger seat. Proof of my life. Proof that I was more than the role they'd assigned me. Then I stepped out. The smell of charcoal and fresh grass filled the air as I walked toward the open gate. For the first time in years, I wasn't arriving as the helper. I was arriving as someone who understood something important. Family isn't defined by how much of yourself you sacrifice for them. It's defined by whether they respect the life you're building. And that afternoon, standing outside that backyard, I finally understood something that took me 30 years to learn. I wasn't refusing to help. I was refusing to be assigned. I stepped into the backyard, and the laughter faded as eyes turned toward me. My father started to speak, but I didn't let him. Calmly, I said, "I'm not your solution anymore." I placed the folder on the table. "This is my life, and none of you get to assign it." Silence followed. For the first time, they weren't deciding my role. I was.